So let us finish off the Ramah. There's one point in the Ramah on the end of Seif Base which I'd like to refer to. And I will say at the outset that we're going to actually shelve this sugya because it's going to rear its head again in Seif Daled, which we won't do for a bit, and there we will discover, then we'll go into it in a bit more depth, okay? And you can remind me and hold me to it. There's a Pischei Tshuva there, a Chasam Sofer, and it's based on a sugya, a Mishnah and a sugya in Makos Daf Vav, which is as follows. But let's see the Ramah. The Ramah at the end. And by the way, this is more common than you would think. Now, obviously, if a respectable, reliable Rav Talmud Chacham is Masada Kiddushin, then they will make sure, and we're going to talk about this as well, by the way, the concept of being Miyached Eidim, this will come up, that you designate, whether you do so orally, whether you do so however you do it, but the concept of being Miyached Eidim is one we're going to discuss. But it does happen. There are sadly too many cases of wannabes or people who have, I don't know, they have a beard or they have a nice voice or whatever it is, and this is it's a lucrative sideline, you know, to being marrying people, being Masada Kiddushin, and there's tremendous achrayas. We've spoken about this Birur Yuchsin and stuff I can't say on camera, but it's really important that things are done properly. You're talking about people's lives, their future, the children, etc., etc. In the middle of something at the moment. I can't go into detail on camera. Anyway, so.
Pause it.
No. Yeah. I'm in the middle of a backwards and forwards with another European Rav about the status of somebody. Yeah. So, the last halacha here in the Ramah, in Seif Base, is as follows. V'chein im kidei shlifnei shnayim. We have spoken now, up until now, right? The smag, we've been talking about Kiddushin be'eid echad. Okay? Now, what would be if there were two witnesses, but it subsequently transpires that one of them was invalid? And this could be for any number of reasons. I wouldn't say the most common one. One might be if the person you're using as an aid is not kosher to be an aid. Now, okay, let's take the easy one in a way first, i.e. he's korov loy or la. Somebody is a relative of the chassan or the kala. Pause here. We're not going to do this now, but we are going to have to go into it. How far does this go? Cousins? Mechutanim? Where does it start? Where does it stop? Yeah? Mm-hmm. I'm just raising the issue. It's a big sugya. We will get into it at some point in the not too distant future. The other main reason that somebody would be posel is based on the posuk in Mishpatim, al toshes rosha aid. A rosha cannot be an aid. What's the definition of a rosha? Who decides? You can't be judgmental. You have to be judgmental in the sense that you have to make a judgment call. There is a halachic definition of a rosha. We are going to be learning, again, not yet, we'll have to see who is kosher to be an aid. Not so simple. So if somebody is not Shomer Shabbos, if somebody's not Shomer Shabbos in private, exactly. So these are very, and especially when you're talking often about, not in big established population, yeah? Metropolitan area where there are botei dinim and things, but when you're doing a kiddushin out in the hicks, yeah, and out in the middle of nowhere, and you need eidim, you need kosher eidim, which are not, and this is something that you need to be very, very cognizant of this. Yes, especially if you find yourself doing a chuppah v'kiddushin kind of in the middle of nowhere, and the only people that are coming that might be religious are the relatives of the chassan and kala. you have a problem. So you as the Masada Kiddushin can be an aid, but you definitely need another one. Okay, and so what would be v'chein? Last line here in the Ramah. V'cheinim kiddush lifnei shnayim v'ho'echad mehem koroiv, and it transpires that one of the eidim is a koroiv to the chosan or to the kala, or to the other aid. Don't forget, it's always three. Yeah, koroiv to the chosan or to the kala or to the other aid. The halacha is having kimekadesh lifnei eid echad. So we're back to square one. It is as if you are mekadesh lifnei eid echad, which, remember, according to the Shulchan Aruch, is nada, zilch, zip, danix. But according to the Ramah, we are chayesh, lechatchila shlei b'makom egan, etc. Question. And this is, again, I'm going to raise it. There's a Beis Shmuel here, and we're going to shelve it for later. But the question is based on a Mishnah in Makkos Davov. Nimtza echad mehen koroivo posel. If one aid is found to be related to one of the protagonists, the claimant or the defendant or another aid, then the halacha is you have no eidus. Eidus as a unit is gone. The concept is known as eidus shebotla miktsasa botla kula. Very good. There's a machlokes in the Gemara there in Makkos whether that applies only to dinei nefashos or also to dinei momonus. It's paskened, if I'm not mistaken, that it also applies to momonus. I think that's in Choshen Mishpat Lamed Vov or Lamed Zayin, I forget exactly. And then, apropos of that, what's going to be our shaila? Because we learn davar mi mamoin. Does that mean that that is also going to work for ishus, for gittin and kiddushin? If that is also going to work for gittin and kiddushin, then ask me a question.
No, it's all invalid.
It should be, right.
Oh, so why does the Ramah say Checheinim kiddush lifnei shnayim v'ho'echad mehem korov havakim kiddush lifnei eid echad? Surely he should say, if we're going to say eidus shabbat lemiktsasa batla kula, if that applies not only in the nefashos but also momonos, and if we continue that, we transpose that also onto ishus, onto dinner, so it should be like there's no eidim at all. That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
I'm not really sure.
Go on.
The Rashba or was the Kodesh Kibbutz, the Davar is only for the idea of two eidim. It's not necessarily for everything. We talked about last.
Oh, so how far does Davar go? Very good. The Ketzois, the Aruch HaShulchan, correct, and that's part of it. I just at this stage I'm only raising the shaila because we are going to revisit it in Seif Dalet. Okay. And with that, we finished Seif Beis, and we're now going to go on to a new and really interesting sugya. And that is as follows. Let me give you a very, it might sound crazy, but let me give you a very modern shaila. Just to sort of make it a bit more interesting or a bit more contemporary. And that is, could you be Mekadesh? Let's say the you're in a hick town, right? So there's a Rav there, so he can be sort of one aid, and this could raise actually can get interesting. Could you set up the aidim to be on Zoom? So it's you have geo-tagging, and you can tell that it's not a deep fake, not some sort of AI, but so they can see the aidim can actually see. By the way, you should know CCTV is used in kashrus for various things. But what do you think? The aidim can see on Zoom, and they can see very clearly. I'm not asking for an answer at this stage. I'm just throwing out a.
I think it's problematic.
You're gonna have, if you want to put your neck on the line, you're gonna have to be a bit more londish than that.
It's not a simple reason. What happened is, it's not a simple reason. If I'm not mistaken, it was I think it was the Chazon who talked about the microphone. If it's allowed to, so there was actually an idea about microphone. What they say actually eventually, is like you don't really hear what he says, but actually you receive all of the signaling which is coming out of it. So then, whenever you don't really see whatever is happening there, but actually what you see is like all of the idea, all of the photo, it's rendered into pixels, and then you only see going back to you, so then it's another issue.
That is an interesting angle. Yeah, it's not by any means the only one, but yes, very interesting.
Yeah,
good,
that's
good
what
thought.
the ring is put on. That's really
The Rav is there, and he's and that's certainly it's not ma'akev.
What about we said that even if the Adam have the subjective feeling that something was kosher technically, the box and everything, but
they don't have any feeling. They see
wrong.
what's going on. They know nothing's wrong. They're fine with it. It's all good.
But the Adam are watching together.
Interesting. Edus miyuchedes.
On one screen,
Very good. Okay. Possibly. Chalai nechad. We're going to go to that sugya. Edus miyuchedes. I'm very impressed. Good stuff. Okay, guys. So we are actually not going to start the Shulchan Aruch quite yet. We are going to use the sheet I gave you, which is a Beis Yosef, the nicely printed side. I'm sorry about the other one. I couldn't find a better print of the Shulti Geboren. But we're going to start here. This is the background, and it's really important. Okay? Beis Yosef, Even HaEzer, Simon Membeis. I printed it out for you. V'kosav oid ha-Rashba b'seif perek hazorik. The Beis Yosef quotes a Rashba. Let's learn this together. Yeah, we've got time. Mistabra. It is probable. It is logical. Savir. Yeah? Kagoin shera'ahu es ha'edin. Aval imra'u oisai shnayim min ha'chaloin. Says the Rashba that the Gemara, which we'll come to talk about, is discussing a case where the chosen or the megarish sees the Edin. Aval imra'u oisai shnayim min ha'chaloin. If two witnesses observe, they're overlooking, they are in a whatever, they're overlooking, and they can see exactly what's happening. Ve'hem royim ve'enom nirim lo. And they can see very clearly what's going on, but they are not observed by let's say the chosen or the kala. Eina paskins the Rashba, eina tzricha mimenu get. No קידושין. It's nothing. No get is needed. Lefi. Why? She'odom yoidea. Says the Rashba. Everybody knows. Shehamakadesh beinoi lebein atzmoi sheloi bifnei eidim. Afal pi sheshneihem moidim eino mekudeshet. Because everybody knows. You can be ignorant. You can be very ignorant, but you take your average, even your secular Jew, and say to him, what do you need under the wedding, under the chuppah? Photographer, duh. Wedding singer, duh. Okay, best man. After they've been through all the shtusim, when it comes down to it, a rabbi, okay, but people know that anybody who's ever been to a chuppah will know that you need Eidim, you need witnesses. They're witnesses. They know there's such thing as witnesses. What does that do? What it does, let's just see, just tell you the Rashba. What that does is, that establishes in the mind, it establishes context. It establishes in the mind of both the chosen and the kala that this is serious. Because if that element is missing, then they are both easily able to claim, that was a joke. That's not a chuppah. A chuppah, everybody knows a chuppah without two witnesses there is nothing. Hilkoch. And then he takes it further than that. The Rashba now says a chiddush. So, that is the reason, says the Rashba, that the witnesses not only have to observe, they have to be zishba. Yes? They have to be visible. They have to be present. Not about present. They have to be
For the public.
for the chosen and kala. The chosen and kala need to know that there are two witnesses there. Because everybody knows. A קידושין without witnesses is nothing. Now, therefore, if that actually happens, if there were two people who went through a chuppah v'kiddushin, and there were two kosher witnesses who observed everything, but the chosen and kala were unaware of it, there's nothing here. So much so, he says, Hilkoch k'sheba'al zeh shaloi l'shem kiddushin ba'al. Even though generally we say, remember we spent enough time on this, Ein Adam Oisa Chazaka, Ein Adam Oisa Bilasa Bilaznus, wherever possible. We say there's a chazaka that a person doesn't make his bia into bilas nus. But in this case, where somebody is mekadesh without edim, it is so evident and self-evident that kiddushin without edim is absolutely nothing, that if he then goes on to live with her, it's very clearly this is not a husband-wife relationship. He's boil l'shem znus. That's the Rashba. What did you want to say?
No, I thought that we mean not only do Chas and Kala have to see them, but the whole scenery has to be, like, they have to be in the scene. No.
No.
So, okay,
let's see.
Okay.
You have to define what you mean by that, because that's going to be an interesting thing. They have to see and they have to be seen. Do they have to be right there? Not really.
So the public is not concerned.
We don't know. The public, there's no such. The public does not play a role per se.
Okay.
No. You don't need public for birchas nisuin. You need a 10, but for birchas erusin, remember we're talking about kiddushin.
Mm-hmm.
There's no minyan is. Remember we learned this. Technically speaking, it's not necessary. Okay, even though we're machal, we do, but it's not. Doesn't invalidate a erusin, a kiddushin. Remember, so there is no public. There is no halachic public. Okay, now let's keep going. V'kach kosav b'shmoi Horan perik misha ochzu v'Rav Magid. V'kach kosav Rivosh. So we have falling in line behind the Rashba is the Ran, the Rav Magid, and the Rivosh. Now here's the case. So says the Rivosh, and this is where it starts getting fun. V'kach kosav Rivosh al edim sheheidu shehichmin oisam hamakadesh b'cheder ofel. The Chosen, and we can speculate as to why he was doing this, but the Chosen was a bit of a chevraman. He hid the Eidim in a dark room. And from there was a little crack in the window, whatever, and the Eidim could see the chuppah. So the Chosen knows there's Eidim. The Eidim can see what's going on, but says the Rivosh, Kevin shaha'isha lo ro'as shom edim b'sha'as kiddushin. The kala, the bride, did not know and did not see, was not aware that there were edim b'sha'as kiddushin. Ein lochush lahem. He's taking it further. The Rivosh is extending the halacha of the Rashba to say if one party knew it, so he was obviously serious, but she, forget it. Ein lochush lahem. Nobody needs to be concerned that this is Kiddushin. This should ring some bells of stuff that we've learnt already. D'chol she'eino roya sheyesh sham edim ein raya shehi mekabeles leisam l'shem Kiddushin. As long as the kala, one party, is unaware that there were witnesses there, we have no proof that she is mekabel, that they are l'shem Kiddushin. Va'afim shamu mipiha shehi mekabeles leisam b'teiras Kiddushin. Even if they watch and they hear her saying, yes, you can see. They even hear from her, she's mekabelit b'teiras kiddushin, which is an interesting phrase, by the way, because kalas under the chuppah are pretty silent. Yeah? Just saying. Yeah? But shamu mipiha. For some reason, she decided to speak up, and he says, Hariyat Makudesh Leib Tamazu, and they see that, and she says, yes. For some reason, she puts her finger out, but she also says, yes, I am mekabel the ring from you, b'teiras kiddushin. So, as if that would somehow make it better. So there's no doubt, back to your point about context, Eli, I think. Yeah, a little bit. But still, Eina Raya Shnisratzes B'Kiddushin. Elo She'emeres Kain, why does she say so? Svura She'en Shomedim. As far as she's concerned, she's happy to go along with this charade. She's having fun. She's, it's a nice way to spend a Sunday afternoon. She's, got on a nice white dress and she's having fun and she's getting a ring and it's obviously some sort of elaborate hoax because there are no witnesses here, as far as she's concerned. And that's the Rivosh. Okay? So he's extended it to say even the Kala. The Gemara then says, you do not need to say Atem Eidai. You do not need to designate the witnesses, and we'll come back to this. Says the Rashba over there, V'davka b'shekid shabifnei shnayim shehem etzlam. This is only true. This is only true when the Kiddushin takes place in front of two witnesses, Shehem Etzlom, which are there, Avol Hichmin Lo Eidim Achoyrei Hageder. So what would be if they're there but they're not there? And this comes to your point, Gabby. How can you be there and not there? Just behind the wall. They're just behind the wall, right? So, V'hi Eino Margeshes Bohem. She has no knowledge that they're there. Now, whether they see or not is another story. But she is unaware. Again, the Rashba is saying clearly, like the Rivosh, that she's unaware that there are Eidim. Loi, then that which the Gemara says that with Kiddushin you don't need to designate and say Atem Eidai, that's only when everything else is in order. But if there are two witnesses hiding behind the wall, then you would have to say Atem Eidai. De Dilma I Argisha Behulei Mekabel Kiddushin. It could be that if she was aware, if the Chosin would say, there's two guys behind the wall and they are our Eidim, that puts a whole different gloss on the whole thing. Because now, that, as far as she's concerned, there are no witnesses. Because she knows. Finished. And therefore, I missed out a few important words at the end of that line. Clearly, this is an elaborate hoax. Says the... Who's speaking here? I think it's the Rivosh. And then the Rivosh says also Simon Zayin al Dibur Rashba, Shehoidu loy kol ha-meforshim haboim acharov. So the Rivosh testifies that all the Meforshim who came subsequent to the Rashba agreed with it. Now, one more tiny little point here. Because of Rashba, but Shuvah Simon Tovshin Pei, Shnaim shoyomdim acharei geder bayis echad. Here's a slight variation. A Shuvah Rashba. Two people were standing behind a wall, and they heard Reuven speaking to Leah, Hiskadshi li be'esrig. But they didn't witness, they didn't observe, they didn't see Reuven giving Leah the esrog. They heard Reuven saying to Leah the following, Hiskadshi li be'esrig. There's silence. They then pop round the wall. They say, this sounds interesting. What on earth is going on over there? They turn around and they see a woman standing in a white dress, under a thing, holding an esrog. Says the Rashba in Shuvah, Ganix, nothing. And they say to her, lady, what are you doing in a white dress, standing there, holding an esrog? And she said, he was just a mekadosh with an esrog. So they're all made her. Nothing doing. Why? And here we're introducing a slightly different element. Says the Rashba, this is your underlining, this is the fridge malgan a bit. The Eidus Re'iyah Mamish Be'inon. Eidus in Kiddushin here is not just about knowing what happened, but observing. So there is Eidus Re'iyah you need. Be'inon. Ubesimin Elef Kufayin Tes, there's another Shuvah Rashba, Isha Shehi Idu Shechnisa Yoda B'choyer Shebekoisel. A woman put her hand into a hole in a wall. So there's a chuppah. I don't know why, I could make all sorts of inappropriate jokes. They're really, really frum, and she's behind this bulletproof mechitza of some sort, and the only thing so we have the chosan, the family, I don't know what, the eidim, everything's good. There's one thing missing. There's a kala behind the wall, and she sticks her hand through the wall, and he says, "Hurry up, and he puts the ring on her finger." Says the Rashba. What's the halacha? Shamakadesh and the Eidim are standing there. V'nosan and Makadesh b'yadam. V'herich b'dava. Ooh, we'll have to look it up. He says there's an arichus whether it's good or whether it isn't good. Leave that as a question mark. Now we turn over the last few minutes that we have. I'm afraid to a Shiltei Giborim. I'm sorry about the print. Yes?
Could you explain that when this lashon is used, v'arich b'davar, that means I'm going to further, there is more...
V'he'erich, and he elaborated at great length.
He elaborated.
V'he'erich, not...
So go back there and look there.
That's it, which I actually have not done yet. Ein sham v'timtzar b'nachas v'doik. Yes, so I did not do that yet. I just wanted to mention it because it will come up a bit later. Okay? So let's see whether it's going to be the same. Now, Shiltei Giborim here, sorry about the small print, in Sanhedrin. we're gonna, and I've got an arrow, turn over the page. So the top arrow says the Shiltei Giborim. Let's read it together. Ma'aseh ba lifnei harayvad. Let's try anyway, yes?
Yeah.
Ma'aseh ba lifnei harayvad. A story came in front of the Rayvad. Now, we don't know which Rayvad. You know there were three. Rabbi Abraham ibn Dawood. There were three different Rayvads. But we could probably work it out. But anyway, there's a Maisa came to the Rayvad. Be'echod she hikpitz or he hid Eidim achere hageder. Yes? He hid Eidim behind the wall. V'kiddush eso isha. V'kibla קידושין, ולא ירעסה העדים. Our case, right? Same case as the Trumas Rashba, not the very last case. But there were Eidim, but only the Chosen knew about the Eidim. That's the case, right? V'lo yira'asa ha'edim achakain, Omra, and then she said, Shalei hosa b'li קידושין geburim. Quite understandably, she said, I think this is all a hoax. Elo, meshata ho'isavai. She was messing him around, if he shalei ra'asa ha'edim. V'don ha'rayvad, and the Rayvad was done. She'eino mekudeshes. Afal gav de alma de isba maisa loy boy atemedai. Normally we don't require that you designate Eidim and say atemedai. We call knocking show you Eidim lifneiam. That's when hani mele show Eidim lifneiam. Aval keshaloi roaso. If she doesn't know, see them yichayla loy mar mashata hoyisi boy. Now so far that's standard. That is the same as the Rashba. So far, so good. However, so the Rayvad would appear to agree with the Rashba. Look, this is the bit to underline. V'yesh cholkin olav. Says the Shiltei Giborim. However, there are those that argue on the Rayvad. And thus they would argue on the Rashba. V'savri shem mekudeshes. They hold she is mekudeshes. Again, this is the scenario. The Chosen knows there are Eidim hiding in the wings, in the whatever, in a dark room, and they see what everything is going on. The Kala is unaware. Is it or is it not Kiddushin? The Rashba, so far everybody has said, no good. There are some people who argue on the Rayvad and say, yes, it is good. Okay, missed that bit out. That's not relevant for us, because that's about what would be in case of a financial transaction. Go to the second arrow I've highlighted for you. Va'ani ha'koisev. Says the Shiltei Giborim, I, Motzosi Ma'at Raya. I found a bit of a proof. Like we learn about Chalitza, Disnan, the Mishnah says, Hanimile lebeino Chalitzosa kesheira. If we do Chalitza Beino lebeino, that means without Eidim. The Chalitza is kosher. And the Gemara asks, Beino lebeino, how do you know? And the Gemara says, the Eidim see it mibachutz. So you see, even though you see from that Gemara in Yevamos that talks about Chalitza, which is kosher, even though they were unaware that they were Eidim. V'lo hizminu le'edus. They were not called to witness the Chalitza. They were unaware of them, and yet it seems to be okay. And don't tell me there's a difference, he says, it isn't different. So, it's a Ktsas Raya, because the connection and the comparison between Chalitza and Kiddushin is a very strange one. Al Koponim, there is a Machlekas. So far we do have a Machlekas, right? We have the Rashba saying it's no good. We have a Shiltei Giborim bringing some of the Chachamim who say that it is good. And this sets us up tomorrow to start Seif Gimel. We now have what we need, the background. That's all we need to start Seif Gimel tomorrow. Seder, Shkoyach, have an amazing day, guys.
Thank you.
Shkoyach.